Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Hello, MotoAmerica fans. How are you today? This is Paul Carruthers, and this is MotoAmerica's weekly podcast, Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. As I mentioned, I'm the Carruthers part. I'm joined, as always, by Sean Bice, who's my counterpart out in Ohio. And Sean, we are 14 days away from racing at Daytona. I don't know about you, but I'm excited. I'm ready. Well, I'm not completely ready, but I will be ready. And it's funny because it seemed like not so long ago, I think I did a post that it was 100 days from then until the Daytona 200. And now we're looking at, actually 14 days from now, they're actually on track and racing.
Wow.
So,
wow.
yeah.
That went by so fast.
It did go by fast. And yeah, Daytona's always been like that, because it's, MotoAmerica didn't do Daytona, obviously, until last year was the first year. And then I hadn't gone there for a long time because, when AMA Pro and it went from Superbike to 600s, and then it went to somebody else, and it just kind of lost some of its luster for me. But it was always like for some reason, there's no feeling that's the same as, when you come into that tunnel on the first day of, on setup day at Daytona. It's just got an unreal vibe to it. And I don't normally watch the Daytona 500. I'll kind of catch pieces of it here and there. But this last time, I don't know why, I think the Travis Pastrana thing intrigues me.
Yeah, me too.
And so I ended up watching the entire race. And I was a little under the weather anyway, so it was perfect. I just spent some time on the couch watching that. But even that kind of gets you fired up too, because you see the grandstands and the Daytona painted on the wall and the high bankings and all that stuff. And it's just, I don't care if you're any kind of racing enthusiast, it just has a special place.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know why. Whenever I watch the Daytona 500, I think about this every year. I wonder how many layers of paint they have on those walls, because they just continually paint over the black marks that end up on it, right? I mean, it seems like that's what it is.
Yeah, you think eventually it'd just be a short track because the walls would be so close in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it was a good race. I did the same thing. I watched the whole thing from beginning to end, and I think it was for the Pastrana thing, especially since our guy, the two-time defending Daytona 200 champ, Brandon Posh, was down there and pressing the flesh, met Travis and a bunch of other drivers, which was really cool. So that made me even more interested too, to see what he was witnessing down there. So yeah, that was good. And that one, it's always been that way. It's like, it's like, oh, our race is coming up right after this one. They have to get ready for it, and I'm sure they're doing that now. So it's going to be good. Well,
speaking of Daytona, we've got a guy that's going to Daytona with 2 number 1 plates on his bikes. He won race 1 of the Mission King of the Baggers at Daytona last year, got second in race 2, left there with the championship, was fastest qualifier. I mean, he didn't have the perfect weekend, but he had as perfect weekend as you could get, and he had a better weekend than anybody else in the class. I'm talking, of course, about Tyler O'Hara. He recently spent some time out at Chuckwalla. Indian SNS Cycle did their team presentation where it was announced that obviously Tyler's coming back and will be joined again by Jeremy McWilliams. I know Tyler is a Jeremy fan, as we all are. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. It's like, man, I'm just so happy that guy's part of our series, and I was thrilled that he was coming back. And he's just such a larger than life guy, and the fact that he's going to be 59 years old is just, I mean, he's almost our age, for God's sakes, and he still does what he does, and he does it really well. And yeah, so anyway, that announcement came out, and we'll have to have Jeremy on the show again, because last time it was a lot of fun. But our focus today is obviously on Tyler. He won 1 race last year in King of the Baggers, and he was on the podium 5 total times out of the 7 races. The important thing for him, as it turns out, was the fact that he didn't have any DNFs. Now, let's bring him in. Tyler, one of the first questions I want to ask you, and by the way, welcome to the show, and it's always nice to have you. And one of the things that I think with the expanded schedule this year, I mean, there's twice as many races I mentioned them not having a DNF, which was ultra important. This year, I think having the extra races is kind of cool because not one mistake or DNF is going to kill somebody's championship choices. Does that take a bit of the pressure off?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Sean. Thank you guys for having me on. It's an honor. I appreciate you guys having me on. New round, new championship this year. Obviously, running the number one plate. The Indian Challenger is proven reliability. Is a big confidence booster going into a long championship series. I wouldn't say. I mean, every race, you just take it one race at a time. I'm excited about the opportunity to have double headers. As you know, last year with the Dash for Cash, I did really well on Saturday and won quite a few of those races as well. So the opportunity to race a doubleheader every weekend is going to be great for the fans, and it's going to be great for us on the Indian Challenger for sure.
Now, I mean, can you? I mean, it seems so cool to me that you're going there with two number one plates. I mean, you try your entire life to get a number one plate, and the majority of people never get it, and here you have two. You're pretty much on top of the world when it comes to this new form of racing, and along with Kyle Wyman, I think you and him are the face of that King of the Baggers championship.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. It takes years and years to become an overnight success, and preparation and good habits and discipline and sacrifices and having good people around you and mentors. And Jeremy's a great teammate. He's my wingman. He's a dog, and it's going to be a dog fight. And just winning the two championships last year, Jeremy was a big part of that. As far as developing the motorcycle and making me a better rider on and off the track, and just having the whole team at SNS Cycles, they have the passion and the will and just the drive. And obviously, I'm excited. I'm so happy. And just, I mean, if you saw the smile on my face right now, I mean, it's a dream come true to be running the number one plate in both classes. And I'm just going to enjoy it and looking forward to it.
Tyler, I wanted to ask you about that number one plate because, the first year when we did King of the Baggers, we had the one race at Laguna Seca, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. And I remember after that season talking to Nicole specifically, and I said, hey, is Tyler gonna, I actually thought maybe you'd put like a crown on your bike, because you were the King of the Baggers that year, and I thought maybe you'd run the number one. Why did you not do that? Is it because it was only one race and you felt like it wasn't a championship because it was only one race, or what was the decision in there?
Well, I believe it was just the sanctioning body didn't feel it was appropriate just because it was a one-off race. Didn't make any difference. I knew the situation, and the number 29's kind of just become an iconic number for the Bagger Championship as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was your decision. I didn't realize that. I didn't know. I thought maybe that you didn't want to put the number one on, but that's why I was thrilled this year. So many riders these days, that have their iconic numbers don't use that number one when they earn it. And for you, you're going to have it on two different bikes with obviously King of the Baggers and then the Mission Foods Super Hooligan National Championship. So I'm really glad that you're going to have those on. And it was cool last year, obviously, when Kyle had it on his bike and everything. So you got to be proud that you're carrying that number one in two different classes.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I mean, obviously we have a great new number one that Indian Motorcycle branded and designed, and it looks awesome. Checkered flag, 3D print, and Indian Motorcycle last year they did the Triple Crown. They won every series that they entered in, so it was an iconic year for Indian Motorcycle. Just a legendary year. The flat track, the Super Hooligan, and the King of the Baggers. So a whole new design with the number one plate. I'm honored and grateful to represent it. And like I said, I'm just excited and grateful, and obviously looking forward to the challenge. I want to keep that number one plate.
The other thing I think that you guys did this year is, man, you really stepped up the reveal of the bikes, and you guys, you and Jeremy, and just it looks fantastic to me. I love the fact that it's got the gigantic script Indian on each side of the bike, and you really worked in the team's new sponsor in Progressive. There's a nice touch there with the blue, and I really like what they've done with the bikes, and it's really a good looking bike. Physically, I know there are obviously always things that are evolving on it, but I mean, it is an Indian Challenger, so for the most part, it looks kind of the same. I don't mean livery wise, but it's about the same as it was last year, body wise and stuff. But the colors in livery make it completely look different. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we did our homework over the off season, and we did our launch at Chuckwalla, and we had a press day, and we actually had a full press day. So we had the 22 championship bike there as well, and for me, it was nice. I got to go back to back, and right away, the 23 package is way better than the 22, which was great. And then obviously we had 2 days of testing to improve it yet, which was even better. And the new livery looks amazing. Indian Motorcycle, I mean, they did a great job. The DNA of the Indian Challenger is still in our race bike, which is something I'm proud to say is basically the same components as a stock Indian Challenger, just obviously modified to go racing.
It's funny. I had to laugh because Paul will laugh about this too. I mean, we had some photos from so the Superbike teams tested at Buttonwillow earlier this week, but they also tested a couple of weeks ago. And we had seen this photo of this R1, and there's Joe Roberts out there riding around on that track. And then I don't know if it was exactly at your press launch or around the same time, you can tell us, but then the next thing we know, we see Joe Roberts out riding around. I think it was your bike from last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Joe came out for the press launch day, but he came the next day and actually that night. But I know it was something that he wanted to do, and I actually talked to him a couple of years ago about it, and one of our marketing team members reached out to him at a different launch party, and he was all about it, and he was quite impressed. He actually said that our bike transitions and turns better than his R1, which I thought was funny, and I was quite surprised. But having him get on it and feel the ergonomics and the way the bike rides and the handling, and just someone with that talent and skill set, and obviously chasing the world championship, who knows, he might have a career race in baggers and maybe could do a wild card. You never know.
That actually sounds pretty good. Sean touched on it a little bit, but I think the thing that strikes me about the new bike and the new colors is that the blue leg, for some reason, just looks really cool.
It does.
It does. I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, wow, it's something that you don't ordinarily see, so it makes it different. But for some reason, it just is the perfect look. You obviously don't have anything to do with the design of that stuff, but it's kind of cool that these guys keep coming forward and making everything look better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The branding is on point, bringing on these new sponsors and really having a lot of brandage on these bikes is a big plus as a sponsor. But just, yeah, man, when you look good, you feel good, you ride good, and for me, it was unveiling, and it was something that you like looking at, and it just brings you confidence, and it's exciting. I love it. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm proud to represent these great sponsors.
Now, when I look at the coming season, obviously the grid has grown in King of the Baggers. Everything's gotten bigger. There's double the races. There's double the interest that there ever was. And I think people just are so excited for Daytona, not only because of the Daytona 200, but also because of King of the Baggers. And some of them maybe only because of the King of the Baggers. But it just shows how far the series has come. And then we're getting some new riders in there, like Jake Lewis wasn't a surprise to me, because when I thought of Jake, I thought he'd be good on a baggers. He's tall, and he could leverage the bike around a little bit maybe, and he's got superbike experience. Did it surprise you that he's coming into the series, and how do you think he'll do?
I'm excited about the challenge. I think he's a great rider. I think there's a few other great riders coming into the paddock. Um, it gives more depth and more credibility to the series. Obviously, more races this year. I'm excited about the opportunity and the challenge ahead. It's just going to make it that much sweeter, I would say. And we're ready to fight. And I think he's going to have a little learning curve. Obviously, I got the most time on this bike out of anybody. This would be my 4th year, and I've been there since day one of the development of this motorcycle. And I feel very comfortable. And the bike keeps getting better and better. And my preparation for the season, and I mean, I'm coming in better than I've ever have. Same with my teammate Jeremy, and I think it's great. We're getting more riders, and obviously the opportunity to race twice a weekend is great for the riders to make a little more money and have a great opportunity there. But firing it up at Daytona, there's nothing like it. The first race of the year, it's basically kind of like the Super Bowl of our sport. The stadium when you go through the tunnel, and just it's the one you want to win. And obviously my mindset is New Jersey. So just get through Daytona and, do our homework and prepare for Daytona the best we can. But no, I'm excited about the challenge for sure. Bring it on.
And so in our lead into talking to you, Paul and I were talking about what Daytona means. I know you've been at Daytona for a lot of other reasons beyond what you've been doing the past couple of years, but what is Daytona? It's got to be special to you, right? I mean, it's different for you on the bagger. It's different for you on the Super Hooligan bike too, but it's just different for you in terms of other tracks anyway. So what's your feeling going into Daytona? Does it feel like a special kind of a little bit of a different thing?
To me, it's a great opportunity with our bike and our package. And when you go through that tunnel, there's something that clicks. You come out and you get into your warrior mindset, and it's one of those stadiums and venues where you really it just something clicks where something comes out of you, and you get the best out of yourself. And it's a special feeling. Obviously, it's taken me 12 years to get my first win there. Now I got 4 or 5 of them. And, like you guys talked about watching Daytona, I'm watching the Daytona 500. I'm watching the Clash. I'm really paying attention to a lot of details and stuff I'm not going to talk about, but just some stuff that's going to be a factor when I get there. And, see myself there and enjoying it, and obviously see myself as a winner.
Tyler, do you know off the top of your head how many times you've gone to Daytona to race? And I'm not just talking about obviously the 200, but in any class of motorcycle racing that you've done, how many times have you been on that track?
Probably 20.
Wow. And you're from Petaluma, California, about as far as you can get away from Daytona. So that's amazing. You've done that many events there. Wow. Yeah, and you still look young and fresh with that big bright smile you've got there. So nicely done.
It's something about it, it's just, preparing for Daytona is what you focus on all winter. So for me, going to Daytona, it's like a spring break, and all the hard work you put in January, February, actually go back to November. As soon as I got back from Italy, it was back to the gym at 5 a.m. just because I'm hungry, I'm motivated. And, this is a good opportunity for us. And, when you go down to Daytona, all the work is, put in. So just enjoy it, go down, put my feet in the sand, and, the whole atmosphere of Bike Week. And it's a spectacle, man. I'm so pumped that I get to be a part of it, and looking forward to it.
What is it like to go around the banking on a bagger? Let's specifically talk about that rather than just the high bars of the Indian that you ride in Super Hooligan. Let's talk about the bagger, because obviously you've done that race and gone out on that track on sport bikes a lot, and you know the deal where you get down beneath the bubble and it's hard to keep your head from bouncing around with the wind and everything. Is it a whole different thing when you're going around in a bagger? You're pushing so much air. Do you get a lot of turbulence where it does affect your body position, or what's it like?
Yeah, so obviously the sport bike's a lot more streamlined. You really got to get tucked in and behind the fairing. Well, obviously, ergo and aero is a big part of our baggers. You wouldn't think so, but very stable. The wheelbase is very long, but at the same time, we're spinning the tire going 175 miles an hour going around the banking. If you hit the paint or go over the big paint, or the lines, you're getting the bike upset. And obviously, the hole that these bikes push in the air is significantly bigger than the sport bikes. So working with the draft and just really understanding on how fast you get sucked up on riders and really paying attention and being you really got to anticipate more on these bikes. But you know what, they just keep pulling and they just want to keep going. So I mean, it's a lot of fun. I would say, we live more in one lap than some people live in a lifetime, especially at Daytona when you're 2 feet off the wall going 175 miles an hour. And just, I'm out there smiling, having a ball. It's, there's nothing quite like it.
That's fantastic. And you're going to be in two different classes. You're with Super Hooligan National Championship with the #1 on that bike, also on an Indian. So you are I would say Mr. Indian in terms of the riders that are out there. We've seen a little bit of a shift this year. There are a couple of teams, or at least one that we know of, that shifted to the other brand. Are you cool with that? Are you like, well, fewer of us, but we're going to make a bigger deal out of it? Or, kind of seems weird to you? What's your reaction to that? How things changed a little bit in terms of who's on what out there this year?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think they maybe jumped ship a little too soon. With the going from Indian to Harley, I personally think that was maybe a mistake. But as a business standpoint, Stan Saddleman does a lot of business on Harleys. I know Harley's fired up and motivated to get more riders on the grid, stack the grid. Obviously, with not having unlimited testing like they did last year, obviously there's probably some incentive for the teams, and which any Indian rider can get the same parts that we have on our bikes, which is the same thing that Harley is offering. I mean, it just gets us back to feeling like the underdog again. The first year I went out there, I was only 2 Indians out of 14, and basically it's the same story. I just, our bike, we obviously made it better over winter, and we still have improvements yet that we're going to make the bike better. I'm excited. If the championship is quite doubled, obviously. So reliability is going to be a big factor. The Indian Challenger is proven to be reliable and have the fastest trap speeds as well. So along with the better transmission and just quite a few other stuff that just make our bike better. From a business standpoint, probably makes sense, but I think they maybe jump ship a little too soon.
Tyler, last week we had Jason Kale on, who basically runs the Harley Davidson King of the Baggers team, and he was explaining to us a little bit about the new rules and how it affected Harley Davidson, et cetera, et cetera. He thought the rules were good. He thinks that like MotoAmerica, the goal is to have some parity and have more guys able to fight near the front. I know you're not an engineer, and I don't expect you to give me an engineering answer, but as far as being a rider, are you happy with how things are progressing with the class and things like parity and rev limiters and things to try to make things as even as we can get them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as a rider, you want the fastest bike possible at any time, and you want to keep developing these bikes because I feel like there's still more development and these motors are just getting woken up. But obviously, you want to get more riders on the grid. And we're seeing that this year. And I honestly think it made our bike better. My bike is going to be more rideable, better on the tires, and then obviously inertia and the mile per hour at Daytona is going to be quite a bit better this year, I believe. So that's out of my control. I mean, obviously they ask us for our feedback and stuff. So losing the 300 RPM, and then obviously the crank is going to be quite a bit different than last year. But we got better in other areas, and I believe it's pretty even. They have their strengths and weaknesses, and obviously, we study our opponents and we get better, and we know our strengths, and we obviously working on our weaknesses to get better. So, um, you get more riders on the grid, and obviously, more reliability, making it more cost effective, is good for everybody. The limited testing, I feel like that's going to be another big advantage for us this year. Last year, our competitors were testing 5 or 6 times at certain tracks, where we would just show up at a track day the week before and get a baseline setting, but have to work away at it every session to get up to pace. So I think that's another advantage for us, as far as limited testing. And then just overall package, our bike is better than last year. So I think it's a win-win for us.
Daytona is obviously the exception, and the answer would be obvious. But if you have to, on a King of the Bagger, what is more important to you? And again, this is beyond Daytona, but what would be more important to you, the way the bike handles or just having more power?
Oh, for sure, more power. I don't care if that thing's wiggling or sliding or whatever. A horse, man.
All right, that makes sense.
Let me follow up on that too, because I want to ask you. I mean, Tyler, you're a hot rod guy, like a lot of people, like a lot of the guys are. I tend to be that way too. And there's that old saying, "There's no replacement for displacement." So I had asked the same question to Jason Kale when we had him on, but I want to ask you too. So the cubic inches of the two engines, the Harley engine and the Indian, aren't the same. Why is that?
Well, we're riding a modern day V twin. It's water cooled, and obviously we're allowed more RPM. But that's a good question. When you read the rule book on paper, it doesn't make sense, especially now because they're running a water cooled head, but they're calling it basically air cooled. So, honestly, that's something that we really pushed for, as far as more cubic inches. But obviously, with our trap speeds and mile per hour and being able to rev more, that's what the rules are. And I did listen to that podcast, and I picked up a couple things, and I brought it back to our team, and we're going to get better, and we have a number and a target that we need to achieve, and I believe we're surpass that. So like I said, our package this year is better than last year, and the bike is more rideable and better traction, and it's going to be faster. So I'm not too concerned with the displacement, and we know what we need to work on, and it is what it is. And you know what, I'm excited for the opportunity and the challenge.
I'm going to take a guess here. So of the tracks that you guys race at, I'm going to take a guess at the track that I think you like the best, and the track that you probably, like the best to ride on, but certainly do the best on, maybe. I think it's MotoAmerica. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the way I approach it is every track is my favorite track. I'm excited to be there. It's the same track for everybody. There's obviously certain tracks, so you pick and choose your battles. Daytona is a great opportunity for us. Road America is a great opportunity. I love Road America. I have yet to get my first win there, but my dream is to go win and beat them at their home track this year. So that's definitely a challenge, and they run good there. So we're going to do our homework, and we're going to show up ready, and hopefully get that first win at Road America this year.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that is their track, so to speak. But are there some tracks where I don't want to say it's a chore, because as you said, you love all the tracks. Is there some tracks that it's a little bit more difficult for you to get the thing around the track than others?
Oh yeah. I mean, with our 120 pounds of no fuel in them. So, we go to Road Atlanta and we go to Laguna Seca. I mean, it's a handful coming over turn one, spinning the tire, wheeling, and then going through the corkscrew and down the rainy curve. I mean, it's work. I mean, every time you show up on these baggers, and no matter what track you're at, you got to be 100% focused and committed to going 100%, because if you're not 100% every session, you're going to be out the top 6, top 10 now. I mean, that's how competitive this series is now. And we're riding them 100% on the limit every single session we're out on the track.
All right, you did mention wheelies, and so far I don't see anybody, and with apologies to the rest of them, I don't see anybody that wheelies the thing as quite as good as you do. Now, we also had an incident at Laguna Seca where you did it through the corkscrew, and I want to say the front wheel was damaged, and you might have almost crashed, although probably not the way that you know how to do those things. But did you get into trouble? Has anyone ever told you, like, hey, Tyler, take it easy on these wheelies because you're killing us?
That time I did have a good talk. So, we're raid baggers, right? We're having fun. It's for the fans, right? It started out as kind of a a sideshow, for instance, but it's my niche. It's what I'm really good at, and no one else is doing wheelies. And where I come from, is this called unknown industries. Well, they make their money doing wheelies, and every time I do a wheelie, I'm kind of represent where I'm from, and just honestly, I'm having so much fun, and it's bike skills, right? You got to be able to ride the bike any which way. And my dream is to do nose wheelies at some point and drag my elbow. And, but did my practice start after the qualifying session. Had a great qualifying session. I'm right there with Danny Slick, and I did my practice start. My clutch was a little grabby, and okay, all right, we got to tell the boys we need to change the clutch. And I'm going up, turn five, going up the hill, and Danny Slick's behind me. I'm like, oh yeah, watch this, it's Slick, because we get fired up, and I popped the clutch and I mistimed. I wheelied off the top and just had a moment where I just hung on like Bob Hanna, like my dad always said, just hang on like Hurricane Hannah, man. Don't let go of that thing. And I'm glad I didn't. Actually, it kind of got trapped because I tried to kick off, but the bags kept me on there and my feet came off. Big old flying W. And anyway, I flat bottomed that thing and broke my wheel and got a flat tire. And Danny pulled up next to me. He's like, you're flat tire. And so, I came into the pits. I had a broken front wheel and my tire was flat. And for me, just to get back to the pits was like a whole chore. I'm like, okay, don't crash it now that I got a flat tire. And I got back to the pits, and the guys kind of laughed a little bit. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a good talking to here. Oh God, that was stupid. What am I doing? This is, like I got to race this thing and we only have one more set of wheels, whatever. And then my boss, Gary Gray, comes down. He was like, dude, that was awesome. I was at the corkscrew. And I was like, man, I could have been a hero or a zero, but I pulled it off. And man, the pictures on my rear wheels off the ground. And you know what? I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun riding these things. And you know what? It's just, it's all fun. It's all fun riding wheelies and just giving it back to the fans for all the support, really.
All right, for a guy that's a self-confessed wheelie addict, have you ever suffered the embarrassment of looping out either after a race or during a race or in a practice session, anywhere where there was a bunch of people?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
I have to say, first test that I did on this bike, the very first test before I even got on the track, I almost, and because the clutch was a prototype clutch and it was totally different than the stock bike, and I'm trying to get some heat in the tires. Well, I did a little practice start and I about looped it out. I dragged the fender, it hopped off the ground. That was like my first day on the job. I'm like, okay, yeah, so better to just take it easy. And but no, man, they're pretty easy to wheelie now as far as where we're at with the torque. I mean, obviously the torque and then the power, and there's not too many people that can ride a wheelie on a bagger either. So it's kind of, flexing a little bit too.
You almost did what we refer to as a Frankie Garcia then.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it sure is a big deal to see those wheelie. Okay, so I have to ask you about one other wheelie, and then I'm going to switch to another subject. But Tyler, that other wheelie you did where the bike was like wobbling or something, what was going on there? Did you mean to do that?
Yes, he does it on purpose.
Are you weaving, or what are you doing there?
It's you gotta just have fun with it, right? I won the Dash for Cash at MotoAmerica, And going from first to fourth gear doing a wheelie, I came back to the pits and the guy was like, that was like 1,100 feet. And you know what? We actually learned a lot from that. Engineers are looking at, that was a weak point, and that was something we worked on. That was our wheels. So, but just having fun, man.
That's awesome. That's good that you had fun and got some R&D out of it too. That's pretty good. So I want to talk a little bit about the Mission Super Hooligan National Championship. So you won that last year on an Indian FTR 1200, and you're riding that bike again this year, and it's going to have the number 1 on it. So that bike obviously was developed for AFT and flat track racing, but they did make a street bike out of it. It's a cool looking bike. I've always wanted to ride one. What's it like as a road racer?
It's so fun. I mean, the bike sounds amazing. Big difference for me this year. Last year I rode Roland Sands FTR 1200. This year we're going full in-house, factory supported from S&S Cycle. So our packages should be quite a bit better. Obviously, there was some development there, just going from the 19-inch wheels to the 17-inch wheels. What it was intentionally designed as a street tracker going to a more sport fighter. But man, that motor's amazing. The way it looks, the way it sounds, it's just a super fun bike to ride. And now we're properly riding them, and it's more of an upright kind of supermoto hybrid style, and just very unique, I would say. And it's very legendary. And obviously we did the new launch with the 1200, me and Jeremy at Coda, and
That's right.
the stock form is just such a fun bike. And yeah, I'm really enjoying riding the FTR 1200 as well.
Yeah, and that video was very cool, though, to two of you guys. I mean, the overhead shots and stuff that were done for that were awesome, and you guys look like you're really hauling ass around that track. So that was really fun to watch. Good job on that.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So this year I don't know if this is even going to impact you, but I want to bring it up because I did a story earlier this week about the fact that, at Laguna this past year, that Stefano Mesa rode that Energica battery bike, and they've upgraded a little bit this year, I think, and he's going to be racing the entire season beginning at Daytona. So they had two battery bikes at Laguna last year with the Zero bike. I don't know if there are going to be any other ones, but we do know that Mesa is going to race every round. I suppose that has no impact on you on the track. But what's your feeling about internal combustion engines versus battery motorcycles on the track in the same series, same championship at the same time?
I think it's unique. I think it's something that is going to draw a whole new, different spectator to and draw attention. Obviously, at Laguna Seca, I tried a second gear start and went completely backwards, and I'm pretty sure he all shot it from the third row. So I mean, the instant torque is pretty incredible. If he is running up front, I might just have to sit on him a little bit until lap 4 or 5 when the battery starts to go down, and then engage. But no, I think it's great. The whole hooligan class, I believe, is a great platform for manufacturers to get involved. This is the marketplace, upright crotch, sport fighter bikes that are actually selling. I honestly think there's quite a bit of a future in this class. Obviously, there's some parity and some rules and stuff, but we got the Pan Americas coming in this year. We have electric bikes. We have the XR 1200. We have the FTR 1200, the Ducati. So as a manufacturer, we got the KTM 890. It's a great platform to showcase your motorcycle, and obviously directly relate to your consumer. I don't mind it. I think it's a little interesting because there's quite a few unknowns, but and obviously it's still 600 pounds or 500 pounds or whatever the bike is there. So strengths and weaknesses as well. So I think it's just going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I don't think they're going to be able to go full juice at Daytona for 6 laps, but maybe they will. We'll see. and the amount of torque and power they are putting out is quite impressive.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is you're racing in two pretty widely different championships, even though you're racing the same brand of motorcycle. I mean, obviously, Mission King of the Baggers, it's a Harley Davidson versus Indian with you on the Indian. And as you said, in the Mission Super Hooligan National Championship, it's probably the most diverse lineup of motorcycles, certainly with the battery bike in there. But like you said, I mean, it's KTM, it's Ducati, it's Indian, it's Harley, it's the Pan America Harley now is joining that as well. And it's just it's cool for I think the fans to see that. And we've gotten a lot of good commentary about people seeing those high barred bikes going around and seeing you guys handle it. It almost reminds me a little bit of way back in the day. And Tyler, this is a little bit before your time, but you certainly know about this, is back when, Eddie Lawson and Wayne and those guys raced those big 1,000 super bikes with the giant wide handlebars on them. It kind of feels or looks that way. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. And every bike has a strength and weaknesses, and they're better in certain areas. And, as a fan, you can really see the riders working around and their style. Nothing's really hidden behind a fairing, and they're trying to get small and arrow. And yeah, I think it's very unique, very unique. For me, it's an opportunity to get more track time and an advantage on my competitors on the bagger. But at the same time, I want to win. I want to win everything. I want to win every session. I want to dominate my competition. But for me, it's an advantage for the baggers. Really, what it started out as an opportunity to get more track time and bring that to the baggers. I'll be on the track 3 or 4 times before I go out and qualify on the baggers. So I got good knowledge, track time, and up to pace. And once you turn it on, you're on. I don't have to wait around for 4 hours. I mean, I'm a racer, and I click it on, and it's go time.
All right. We're running out of time here, but I've got one thing I want to bring up before I'll let Sean close, and he's probably got a sales promo for us. Last year, the championship came down to New Jersey Motorsports Park, and we had you and Travis Wyman on the podcast, actually in person at the racetrack the day before we even got started there. But you seemed calm, cool, calm. You always do. And we talked about it before. You've got like this gunfighter face where you're smiling, but then you just shoot the guy in the chest. And that was apparent at New Jersey. But that race was held in a rainstorm. There's a championship on the line. It's you against two brothers, Kyle and Travis Wyman. It's you against the two Harley guys. Were you as calm as it appeared, or inside your helmet, was it a stressful situation?
No, man, I was so calm. I mean, I dreamed about that opportunity in that situation. I knew what I had to do. And, that's years of preparation and riding in the rain by myself and no one's watching, and being confident with my skill set and knowing the equipment that's underneath me and my team believing in me. And pressure's a privilege, right? Because people give a shit about you and they care about you. And for me, I want to win just as bad as they do. And it was me versus him essentially. And you know what? The rain is the ultimate equalizer. And you know what? I want it. I want to win it. And it's all about being calm and cool and having fun. And me and Jeremy, we're going to have the most fun, and we're going to enjoy it. And we're racing baggers, and that's what it's all about. And that's when you ride good. And no, I was calm and cool, and just like I am headed to Daytona. And you know what? I'm enjoying it. That's the secret. I'm really having fun.
Tyler, thanks so much for being on with us. This is great leading into Daytona. We can't wait to see you with those number ones on your bike and both bikes, and all the best to Indian this year and you in the championship. We're going to wrap up here, but I do want to mention, for the fans out there, and really Tyler, for your people too, February only has 28 days in it. So we haven't got too much more time before it's the end of February. And then on March 1st, our pricing is going to change for MotoAmerica Live Plus. So I mentioned this on a couple of the podcasts ago, is you guys got to cut the cord. You got to consume your entertainment, your broadcast entertainment, your motorsports the way you want to, which is to purchase what you want in apps and streaming services and subscriptions. So that's a shout out to you guys to sign up for MotoAmerica Live Plus at this special preseason rate of $89.99. It's going to go up on the 1st, so you got a few more days to get in on it. Get it set up. You're going to have everything that's going on at Daytona this year. Obviously the 200, but the 2 races for King of the Baggers at every round that they're racing at this year. And it's just, you're getting a lot more racing this year than we've ever had before, in a lot of different classes. And it's going to be really our best season yet. So definitely be a part of it. Live Plus is just like being there. You get to see most all the practices, you get to see all the qualifying, all the races. And it really, even when you're there and you watch it, it helps us as well, because we watch it when we're around the track or in the media center, and a lot of the riders say that they watch it too when they're there. So even if you're at the track, it's great to have, and if you can't be there at every race or at a race for whatever reason, it's the next best thing to be in there. So again, MotoAmerica Live Plus, sign up for that and do it before March 1st. Thank you.
All right, Tyler, we appreciate you being on. As Sean mentioned earlier, you're always a great guest, and we will see you in 9 or 10 days.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Can't wait.
All right, boys. Thank you.